You're listening to the Connect Church podcast featuring the pastoral staff of Connect Church in Tupelo, Mississippi. This podcast delivers biblical truths, hot topic discussions, and encouragement you need on your daily journey to live like Christ.
The Human Resources Department requires that I be available.
Not sure if the invite cards are nifty, but the mustache is definitely not.
He's in charge of our children. What are we doing?
I don't.
Here are your hosts, Terry Pierce, Andrew Pierce, and Tanner Stahl.
Thank you all for being here. Let's get started.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night here on the Connect Church podcast. What are we, episode 007, right? Is that right?
7.
7, lucky number 7. We made it to 7. I feel like we've done 100 of these things, right?
It's been a long time.
I feel like we're just doing one all the time, and it's only number 7, so I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing. But
7 weeks in a row, baby.
That's right.
Tanner likes spending this much time with us.
Yes, it's just like being part of the family.
7 in heaven.
You chose this family. I'm sorry, Tanner.
Yeah, sorry about that. Oh, yeah. All right, anyways. So here we are, Connect Church Podcast. Thank you for listening. Rate it, like it, whatever you got to do, subscribe, whatever your social media platform requires you do to help us spread the word about the Connect Church Podcast. And we do appreciate all of you sharing it on Facebook because that's where most people are seeing it, sharing it on Facebook, giving it a good word, even though some of you may have been publicly critical about it in the beginning. Yeah.
I've even got family members that are just, sharing it with other people and positive feedback. So we appreciate all that.
So they're listening to us up in Democrat land up there.
Yeah. So people are like, they just said that's how they begin their day and they wait for it every week. So I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Thank you.
That's awesome.
We appreciate it.
We love doing it. It's a lot of fun. For those of you who don't know, if I had not gone to Bible college and gone into ministry, I was going to go to Arkansas and hopefully be a radio broadcaster. So this is right up my alley. This is what I enjoy doing.
You have a
stuff.
face for radio.
I do, and a body for radio, that's for sure.
Well, and my question, you went to college?
Yeah, I did, yeah. For a brief time. And
where did you go?
Until they kicked me out. You want me to get on this track? You don't want me to get
Moving along.
Who's coming this weekend? we better not go
Jesus.
Hey.
Anyways, all right, so we are going to talk about our Forever Families sermon series going on. We're in week number 2 of that. It's been a great series so far. You can listen to both previous sermons on the Connect Church Playback Podcast, the Sermon Playback Podcast. That's what it's called, the Sermon Playback Podcast. It's on our website, www.triconnect.church, or on the Apple Podcast as well. You can find that and listen to both sermons. If you don't want to go back and rewatch it on our Facebook live stream or Vimeo, you can check those out. Anyways, so Andrew got thrown a curveball this week and had to preach. We were going to have Dr. Eddie Moody preach this Sunday, but because of the weather and Snowmageddon, he was unable to attend, and so Andrew stepped up and did his sermon a week early. So were you prepared for that? I know in advance, at least 6 months before I'm going to have to preach something. So
yeah, so people listen to this podcast. Yes, I was completely prepared. No,
you got it all from sermonspice.com, didn't you?
Sermon Central.
Sermon Central. Okay.
No. If you were here for the sermon, you know it was definitely original because we had Neil Diamond and Elvis Presley and Shania Twain.
We had all kinds of good stuff up in here.
It was fun. No, I was not fully prepared. I knew what I was going to be preaching on, but had not really done a lot of the legwork. And then it was probably Thursday afternoon. Terry said, "Hey, we're going to have to cancel the couples retreat and everything. So I'm going to need you to go this week." And I'm like, cool. Okay. This should be fun. So I got to embarrass him and make up for it.
36 hours, man. I mean, you should be able to,
you do preach every week.
Right,
so, it's,
yeah.
I mean, to teenagers, it's a little different.
It's
a little different. I can make some stuff up and they would have no idea.
They're not even paying attention anyway.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. But anyway, so you covered Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 through 9. I didn't print it out or anything. We're not going to read it. Check that out in your Old Testament. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, the 5th book of the Bible.
Very nice.
What I would call it for short is D6.
D6.
I just come up with that.
Well, is that copyright infringement? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, so I liked your points. Your first point was astronomically long. Okay,
yes.
It barely fit on the screen. Connect your heart to God so you can connect your kids and wait. Did I read that right? Connect your heart to God to connect your kids and to connect them to God. What?
To connect to your kids.
Okay, all
and
these
to connect
twos in
them
here.
to
To
God.
connect to your kids and to connect. Yeah, like I said, it was so much typing, it didn't hardly fit on the screen. And then
It was a good point, just hard to read. But
yeah,
it was a great
it
point.
was hard to follow. But then do the same. If you don't have kids, do the same thing with your family and family of believers, and then never give up. So expound upon that. I guess you're going to do most of the talking this week, Andrew, because it was your sermon. So
Wow, this has
have at
never
it.
happened before.
Yeah.
Terry doesn't get to talk the whole time.
I'm just another pretty face.
Okay.
All right, take it away, Andrew.
Yeah, we just kind of went over just the biblical role of parents. The responsibility that if you have kids, that it is your responsibility to bring them up in the way they should go. That it can't be outsourced to the church, to the youth pastor, to the children's program, to the Christian school. It's not anybody else's responsibility; that it's yours. But the main theme is that if your spiritual diet of investing in your kids and teaching them spiritual things is just what they get from church, and maybe here and there just a couple of good Christian themed things you throw in there throughout the week, it's not always enough. We've got 168 hours in a week, and we want to make sure that we're making the most of them just through intentional conversations. And man, I even gave a shout out to Ashlyn and Ashley and Belen and some of our pastors' wives that they are so much better at the creative aspect of things on how to do those things. So I just basically was giving you guys the meat of it, saying you need to be connected to God in order to connect to your kids and in order to connect them to God. And if you're not going to do it, the world's going to disciple them in a whole other way that, it's going to lead them down a path that they don't need to go down.
Right, we're always being discipled by something. At the same time, we're always worshiping something.
Yeah.
That goes hand in hand. So you asked the crowd, what are some of the sayings that your parents used to say to you growing up that you remember? And it was part of the funny time. And I almost jumped out of the back because I was running the cameras during first service, and I wanted to say, for growing up, it wasn't until I was like 12 years old, I thought my name was Benjamin Tanner Stop It. Not Benjamin Tanner Stall. So that was something that
I fully believe that.
Yes.
Terry, did you have anything that your parents always said that you remember?
Just remember, this is for
the ones that I can say on the air. But
I got a bleep button. Hang on.
I think that probably the most memorable one that I would come up with is the fact that basically we're going to take you out, that in this world if you continue to do that. So it was something of that nature that
I brought you into this world. I can take you out.
Cleaned up version. Yeah. So that was the one that I heard a lot.
Yeah. So what was one of the more meaningful statements you heard since you were a listener this Sunday?
Yes, it was great. The audience really was into it, and let me just digress for 1 second, if I may. But
when you say digress, do you mean? Hang on.
Mango Terry? Put it in reverse, Terry.
You mean back up? Okay.
That would work.
Let's back up, Terry.
Classic.
I was worried that you were going to have something else.
Sorry, my button didn't work.
Let me push your button, Tanner. But anyway, now I think that as Andrew got into the message, but let me just give a shout out to you guys. This is the in-person worship was enhanced greatly by being here. But man, if you can go back to our website, not in the sermon podcast, but us pastors don't say this very often, but we should. Is the worship at Connect Church is incredible. And, just listening to the opening of how we went into this service and the prayer that goes into that. And sometimes we forget about, we laugh and have a good time. We should. And then we get in a lot of information from Scripture, and we should. And a great message from Andrew. But, we need to never forget that this is all about worshiping God. And, man, it was when we moved into that whole segue from, graves to gardens, and just, you were leading, Tanner, and you were into it. And just the whole service was incredible worship. And when we have His presence here, it can even take a sermon that was just put together, and put on the spot. But
it was
good. It was good. All jokes aside, but it was really, our folks were into it, and I love what God is doing in the worship here. And so I just want to give a shout out, Andrew and you guys, all jokes aside, singing together in that opening song montage was just, it was moving, and it was the presence of the the Lord was here. And, you can catch some of it online. You guys, honestly, I don't know who sings that song on the radio, but it's not any better than what you two guys did. So shout
Brandon
out for that.
Locke, what's his name?
You are so dumb.
No, the song is Elevation of Worship, and what's his name?
Brandon Lake.
Lake. Okay, all right. Yeah.
Lake.
I thought it was Locke. Sorry.
Tanner sounded like me on that.
It wasn't Bill Gaither.
Oh wow! You better believe it. Now, my favorite part was coming out of the worship. We sang the song, "Is He worthy?"
Right.
He is, and the whole church is just like, yes,
Yeah,
our God
yeah.
is
Like
awesome.
glimpse of
It
heaven
was.
moment.
It
Yes,
was. No,
we're
I mean,
here.
that's what I meant. The whole thing was awesome.
And then it goes to that intro video. He had ba-da-da-na, ba-da-da-na. Is your booty wiped? Have you been using diapers and wipes? That's what it said. I was like, that's a way to kill the mood.
Well, and then a few minutes later, we had Shania Twain.
Yeah, that's right.
This is what happens.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah, Terry.
Man, I
Feel like a woman.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, oh golly. Yeah. All right.
Oh, man. If you weren't here Sunday, man, you need to tune back into that message because everybody got a visual that will definitely make an impact
Yes.
on your life.
It's not
too.
even an accurate story. So here's the real truth
Oh,
of the
no,
matter.
no,
yes,
no,
yes.
no.
Okay, Shania Twain, yes, but it's Party for Two, and there's many other songs that she sings, and
I honestly don't know.
yeah, my mind just went
Well,
blank.
the
But
other one I felt like I wasn't allowed to say.
let's go, girls.
Yeah.
I mean, when your dad's screaming, "Whose beds have your boot been under?" I mean, it's just I didn't feel that like it was appropriate for church. So
I mean, we've all had now we've all got the visual of you in that. Wasn't it like a blue jacuzzi room? Or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, that was sports injuries.
Bubbles everywhere.
No. It was sports
it
injuries.
was sports
and
injuries from doing a layup.
I played a very manly basketball game and led our church team to victory.
I
And
want to
was
know.
just injured.
I want to know what was the bathtub blend? Like a Tahitian vanilla and some lavender, like
No,
a
no,
little
no,
proprietary.
Oh,
blend?
absolutely.
No,
he used
no.
the unicorn bath bombs.
Did it have a toy in it?
Oh, good. Hey, there is a story of him almost burning our house down too from lighting
No,
candles.
that was your mom. That was not
Oh
me.
gosh. Well,
That
I
was
don't
your-
need to know about you and mom like
No, that
candles.
was totally hers. Yeah. So.
All right, so let's get back on topic here. Andrew, what does loving God with all your heart, soul, and mind and strength look like within the context of the family?
Yeah, I think with a lot of this, my intention, which hopefully I got across, I felt like it was a lot more concise second service, but the goal was not obviously just head knowledge. When you have heart knowledge of something, it's coming out of you every single time you speak, every decision you make, it's informing that decision. When you love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, it overtakes you. And when you realize like what we were singing in worship about how He's brought us from death to life and all that He's done for us, and is He worthy? Yes, He is. And when we kind of started off in that worship moment and everything, and then leading into loving the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, it has to be more than a song. It has to be your life that you like. Yes, He is worthy. And when you really start to like just soak that in, it starts to affect everything, your decisions, your parenting, your marriage, your finances, your work, everything, that it starts to take over because you can't help but talk about what Jesus Christ has done for you. You can't help notice how He's working all around you when you are truly trying to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength.
Yeah, and one thing that, sorry, I'm going to jump a little ahead. One thing that my Connect group just found mind-blowing was, I mean, I'd heard it before because of the D6 model and everything, but the one out of 168, is that how you would say that?
Yeah.
The fraction, the 1 out of 168, and how that's just not enough. And I think seeing that on the screen really put that into perspective for all the parents in the room.
And I just have to say that was 100% copyright infringement on D6 Ministries as well too. So, but it's a powerful reminder.
Hey, if you ain't stealing, you ain't trying.
That's
There
right.
you go. That's right. So doing your homework. Hey, I want to jump even further ahead. One of the critical points that I thought was just fantastic was and it's a simple message, and I really am thinking about our audience that's listening to us right now that may not have even heard the sermon just yet. You guys need to go into our sermon podcast and do that. And here's why. Is Andrew wraps this up and he tells a little bit of his prodigal story with this. And this is what my heart's going to right now this afternoon as you guys, or this morning when you're listening to this, whenever, is that, there's so many of you that are struggling out there. Maybe, you're not even going to church and you're just what we call seekers at our church. You've not even really, just even went down the road of coming to a service, or maybe you're a member of our church and you're just struggling with this. I hope what you walked out of there when Andrew said, don't quit. When he finished that message on that last point, that you cannot give up on people. And this is just our shout out to you guys today. It was Glenn and I that we never quit loving and praying for Andrew, even then, when he was basically just, slapping us in the face with his behavior and with his, denial of Christian things. God can do anything, guys. And that's a word that y'all need to hear and listening to this audience today is not that, we have fun with this, and you're thinking, well, where's the deep theological, legalistic training at? The person and the relationship, obviously.
I was thinking and I just didn't say.
Probably that group's not even tuned in right now. So let me just speak to the rest of you that are listening. Anyway, but I hope that you're getting the relational relation that Christ had. I think this is the way Christ related people. People didn't look at him as being the most profound. Matter of fact, we can go into all the intellectual discussions, and I could walk you as deep as you want to. The reason the Pharisees were critical of him is because they felt like, he could not possibly, understand, and they were talking to the author. And my point is that he wants, and it's what Jesus never gave up on people. Jesus was constantly in us relational. He had a good time with people. And so I hope if you're listening today, that was a great word. Listen, if you're going to listen to anything else in the sermon, family, it can be as a single person, man, never give up on those that are struggling. And if you are struggling, know this: we care about you, we love you, and our churches, this is where we've built this church, and what it's going off of is we never give up on people, because God can change you.
And man, I had so many people, I mentioned them in the sermon too, and there was several that I didn't mention because for time's sake, but man, there were so many people in my life other than my family, but a part of my church family and stuff, that were actively praying for me, speaking truth into me when I had nothing to do with God and was not following him in any way. So I'm glad that I had those people. If you are somebody listening that is struggling, that wants help, that needs prayer, man, we're right here, 1650 North Veterans Boulevard, Tupelo, Mississippi. Come see us. We'd love to pray with you. Anything like that, any ways that we can help, we would love to, because some of us have been there, in those moments, and we would love to be that person that lifts you up.
And if you have screwed up and you're the one that's not coming back, I'm telling you, this is what our church is made up of: people that have come back, from the brink, from the border of hell, and God is redeeming them and he's saving them. And we would love for you to be another one of those stories.
And I was thinking just right here in this moment how, we do hear about your past a lot between your dad preaching every Sunday. We hear it a lot, and I don't want to say enough, and my first thought is like, man, I'm tired of hearing this story, but then you got to turn the table a little bit and think there's someone out there who's in this spot right now.
Absolutely.
Who needs to hear this testimony and this story of what God can do and how God can turn the turntables, if you will.
I like the Michael Scott reference.
Yeah,
that was nice.
That's good. That was good. But if you think about it, when we went to that D6 conference back last year, Tanner, when they walk us through, how to really do discipleship and the training of that, but what was the story that they used that was a catalyst that challenged all three of us to move into this realm of discipleship? It was the story of the prodigal that, moved in our hearts, and that always, and that resonates. And the reason that we continually tell the stories of the prodigals, because that's what I was just saying earlier. This is where people live at, and no matter where, we've all been there one time or another. Yeah. And so it always is fresh in that way.
Did I go to a D6 with you?
Not D6, discipleship training.
Discipleship.
Yeah,
you said. I thought you said
did
D6.
He did.
Okay, I was like, I've never been to a D6 conference.
Discipleship conference. My
Yes.
bad.
Okay. Yes. The relational network thingy, whatever. All right. Cool. Well, let's wrap this up. Any other thoughts on Deuteronomy 6 and how we can implement that into our families?
Yeah, if you, simple things like just have intentional conversations when you pick your kids up from school, ball practice, whatever, and especially with teenagers, I know it's harder and stuff, but if you need creative ways, talk to Ashlyn, and Belen, because they're much better at this than we are, but no, there are lots of little things you can do. My dad used to always he didn't check me, to actually make me open up my journal, but he just simply asked, did you spend time with God today? and stuff, and just simple accountability things like that go a long way and make an impact, believe it or not. And, never stop praying.
Right.
Never stop praying.
One key word, just it's easy to remember. Intentionality is literally and this is sort of the check for all of us as adults with our kids, is if I'm going to have conversations with my kids about sports, I'm going to have conversations with Disney Plus, whatever it is with my kids. You got to ask yourself, have I talked to my kids about anything going on in my life with Jesus? Same thing with your spouse. And so, guys, we just got to balance out our life. What a shame it is that if we say Jesus is the most important thing to us in our lives, in our church, and yet all we ever do is talk about everything else but him, then we probably got our priorities wrong. And so just have the awkward conversations, intentionality. I'm just determined my kids are not going to know me for Disney Plus or sports or music or band. They're going to know me at least balanced with talking about Jesus.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it was a good sermon. I implore you to check it out on www.triconnect.church. Right there on the homepage, you can see it and watch it or listen to it on the Sermon Playback Podcast. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get into the best and the worst of the weekend and maybe some other fun things. Who knows? We'll be right back on the Connect Church Podcast.
Have you been looking for a place to call home? Need a place that makes you feel welcome and valued while at the same time growing spiritually in Christ and biblical truths? At Connect Church, our mission is all about loving God, loving people, and making disciples. When we gather together, there's a spirit of worship, a spirit of kindness, and a spirit of welcoming to anyone and everyone who's seeking God's will and truth in their lives. We invite you to visit during one of our 2 Sunday services to discover how Connect Church can help you grow in your relationship with Jesus Christ. Our friendly and spirit-filled worship environment is just the place for you. Visit Connect Church this Sunday during our 9 o'clock or 10:30 a.m. services, located at 1650 North Veterans Boulevard in Tupelo, Mississippi. Or you can check out our live stream on our Facebook page or our website at www.triconnect.church. Again, that's www.triconnect.church. We look forward to connecting with you.
And we're back on the Connect Church Podcast. Glad to be here. Thank you for listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, wherever you're listening. We appreciate you doing that. All right, guys, it's time to go around the room and get the best and the worst of the weekend.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Wait. Which was it?
This is the worst.
Yeah, simply the best. All right, guys, let's go around the room. Terry, what's your best of the weekend?
So I flew up to Illinois Monday and was checking on my parents and, just trying to help them out a little bit as they're getting older. And so was talking, visiting with my brother and sister-in-law and their kids and stuff. And anyway, we had finished up supper at Cracker Barrel. That's where you take, older folks. And so we finished up at Cracker Barrel supper, and we were driving to get some, my brother was getting gas in his car. And as we pulled into the gas station, and thank you, President Biden, for $2.85 a gallon up there.
Yes.
So yeah, it's really working well. Sorry, anyway.
The gas prices are going up like the Biden vote count, right?
Yes. That's good. I like that. So anyway, but hey, we don't need that pipeline. So anyway, so we pull into the gas station, and this girl, probably 15 or 16 years of age or so, just guessing, and she runs out. She's got her hands over her head, and she's going, and then hands out like, I don't know, oh my. And you look at the side of her car in the middle of the parking lot, and she has drove off after filling her gas with the gas pump and hose sticking out of her gas tank. She runs in and gets the manager, and the manager, just like you could tell, wanting to use vernacular, just frustrated. And the girl's just going with her hands out like, I don't know. It looks like nowhere. I don't know what happened. and she's just sitting there, and the whole hose and everything is just pulled straight out of the pump and hanging off of her car.
That's your best of the weekend?
It was hilarious.
Oh, it was hilarious. Okay. I was like, that's pretty bad. I mean, glory.
Terry must have had a rough week.
Never mind.
All right, my best of the weekend, I mean, it's easy. If you see me on Facebook, it's the Arkansas Razorback baseball team just going down to Dallas and just annihilating Texas Tech, Texas, and TCU, the Horned Frogs of TCU.
Wait, how do you feel about Texas?
Oh, I despise Texas, and I know Ole Miss, great job, y'all did it too. That's great, but y'all don't care about Texas like I care about Texas. All right, like that. I don't care if we win any more games. We won those 3, and that's all that matters.
I love the food in Texas.
I love Texas, the state, sure,
Okay,
but the sports teams.
I got you.
I hate them all. I just hate them. I do, and so my best was just going down there and cleaning their clocks.
Would Jesus love Texas too?
One of our players was even
I thought that's why they said go to Texas.
during the national anthem when we played the Texas Longhorns. I even hate to say that word. When we played them, he had his right hand over his heart and his left hand had the horns down symbol behind his back.
That.
Man, it was good. Yeah. It was good. So that was my best of the weekend. Just going down there and just ripping everything off of them. So
yeah.
Go ahead, Andrew. What's your best?
Well, I can't say the same for Ole Miss, and that's reflecting on my worst. But for my best, I really enjoyed the snow. I'm weird. I love wintertime.
I do too.
I love the snow. I'm extremely hot-natured. I love every season as it comes, but I love having Nora to be able to get out and play in it. We rode the golf cart and was doing donuts.
Yes.
We only almost threw her off like 4 times. She actually fell asleep.
Oh, wow.
With Terry driving.
Oh, no.
That's a miracle in and of itself.
I don't get car sick, but I get car sick when Terry's driving.
Exactly. She fell asleep. But my other best was we found out that my brother, I can't believe Terry didn't say this, my brother is actually going to be having a little boy. So I'm going to have another nephew.
All right.
3 Pierce males coming into the world, so isn't that crazy?
Again, this is the second time.
Yeah,
your
that's
first
true.
3.
Yeah.
That's
Now you
true.
got more 3.
Maybe we'll get it right this time.
I know. Yeah. Y'all have a name yet for yours?
Baby Pierce.
Baby Pierce. No, do you have one and you're not telling?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
I have some. Ashlyn has vetoed all of them, so
I'm going to recommend Frank for Frank Broyles, Brandon for Brandon Burlsworth, Tanner for, clearly, look at me.
but not Benjamin.
No, not, you go for Ben. Who cares? That's fine. Nobody knows me as that. Anyways, what's your worst of the weekend, Terry?
My worst of the weekend, the fact that flying to Illinois and back and having to wear a mask for like 16 hours for 3 days.
Should have been eating something.
I didn't think about that.
Just have an empty bag of peanuts in your hand, and what are they going to do?
Nice call.
Leave it to Tanner with something with food and a loophole with mask.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. You've seen the pictures on Facebook about the social distancing at the airport where you have to stay 6 feet apart to line up and everything,
right.
and then the pictures of everybody crammed in the plane. Because this makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I lived that all weekend. So yeah.
My worst is also a COVID-related thing. So, and it also relates to Texas. Those stupid Texas A&M Aggies. Okay, they have literally postponed 7 straight games. 7 for COVID. Well, one was for weather, but the other 6 were for COVID protocols. What are you doing down there? Either you're doing it way wrong, or you're not doing anything at all. And it's costing people game. Like we were talking earlier, Arkansas could have 2 more wins possibly, because they've postponed on us twice.
Wow.
So they're my worst. The A&M Aggies, everything about them. I just
So Tanner, in case you haven't mentioned, how do you feel about Oklahoma?
Hey, versus Texas, let's go Boomer Sooner. Let's go. So
Oh goodness, my worst is Ole Miss was actually doing well, beat Missouri, beat Tennessee, beat ranked teams in basketball, and then what in the Sam Hill happened?
Lost
that Mississippi State.
you got drubbed.
I'm serious.
Was it at the Hump?
That is the story of being an Ole Miss fan. It's
Where was it?
Is it at the Hump?
It was at Ole Miss, I believe. I didn't actually see the game.
Even worse.
I know. I just got updates, and of course, every State fan was coming up and, hey, did you see the game? Jonathan Burt was saying, hey, did you see that?
Well, they hadn't won much this year.
Yeah,
so you have to give it.
Which, by the way, my entire Connect group, every single member is a declared State fan. So that, pray for me.
Well, it is discipleship.
Yeah, well, maybe they'll get saved.
Well, the land sharks fell out of their tank, huh? Just kidding. I had to. Yeah.
Go Longhorns.
Yeah.
Don't cuss on the podcast.
I've trained my kids to when they hear the word Texas, they give the thumbs down and go.
They really do. I have tested this with Sadie Stahl and Children's Church. Yeah. She actually does. She really does.
We don't do Texas. All right. Well, anything else you guys want to bring up on the podcast? You want to mention?
I'm good. No,
we were all snowed in, so I'd like to recommend Lowe's for de-icer and.
Well, it was 71 degrees yesterday, so
That's
everything
true.
should be
76 today. Isn't that crazy?
That's nuts. I'm wearing shorts right now, so
Yeah,
we may or may not. We're not sure yet, but we'll probably have a special episode this weekend with Dr. Eddie Moody coming in. That's the goal. If we can get that organized, if we can afford his flat rate to do the podcast, so
Excellent.
We'll do that, and hopefully you'll have an extra episode to listen to this week. We thank you for listening to Connect Church Podcast. It's Wednesday. We got to get ready for church. Y'all have a great and wonderful time. See you next week.
Peace.